Yo, what's up guys, it's NLW Figs here, back again with another video. Today I'm going to be counting down 5 of my wrestling figure collection that I would regret purchasing. Yes, this could be figures that when they got here they were broken, or they weren't as good in person, or you just thought, oh, I might like that figure, but then you realise that, what was I thinking, why did I buy this? So, you know, if there's any of those kind of figures that you have personally experienced in your life, then let me know in the comments below, and also be sure to like the video and subscribe to NLW Figs. So let's just start off with an obvious one. This is the first figure on my list that I regret buying. This is the John Cena NWO figure. Now, it did come with a cool little backdrop for the NWO WCW stage, but aside from a fun little gimmick from the Firefly Funhouse, it doesn't really offer anything like proper. Like, I suppose it's cool as like a tech sort of if I'll show you in like a full kind of frame here, it's cool as like a nostalgia piece. If you were to like box it maybe and put it on the wall, it would be interesting, but as a figure it's just a bit silly. Like, this head's expression, like if you were to give me another John Cena head with this that wasn't just this kind of smirk, look at this face, if I can zoom in, look at this stupid face on John Cena smirking at you. He's like, what are you going to do about it? And I don't like that. I find it threatening personally, but you know, aside from that, I just think it's such a basic figure. Like, in my John Cena collection, it doesn't even stand properly against my other John Cenas because it's too tall, because these legs are just too tall. Like, I suppose if you really wanted to, you could make this into a John Cena street attire, which wouldn't be the worst thing ever, but when does he ever wear trousers? It's just kind of confusing, really. So yeah, not really a figure that I'd recommend picking up. It's not one that's definitely on many people's lists. In terms of why I bought it in the first place, it was on sale, and I thought, you know, maybe I can use this John Cena as an updated head scan for my John Cenas. Maybe I can use it as a street attire, but John Cena generally just wears the Jaws, doesn't he? So yeah, a questionable choice, although it did come with a lovely little NWO hat and NWO shirt, so if nothing else, maybe pick it up for that. So unless you're a John Cena fan, I'd say give this one a miss. Next up we have this American Badass ringside exclusive. Now, a lot of people like this figure, but I'm one who, I don't know, once it's in hand, I'm not really a massive fan of it. Let me just explain why. I don't like this neck, first of all. It probably stands out to you, but the only good thing about this is you can replace the head if you want to and put a regular Undertaker head on. That's what I did for the Greatest Royal Rumble for NLW 24/7. But yeah, the neck just sits too high, and I think if you can kind of see, the skin tone is different between the head and the body, so that's another issue. You know, the hair colour is fine, it was what he looked like at the time, but I feel like this is an Undertaker expression from when he was the Dead Man. I could be wrong here, but it just looks like they've repainted the hair. Especially if you can compare it to the Ultimate Edition. I don't have it on hand right now, but it just feels like they've repainted the hair, and that's all they've done, really. In terms of this, I do like the fact that you've got this customizable thing, and you've got the BSK tattoo on the stomach area there, and obviously double jointed arms are a good touch. Like, the legs are fine, but it's what we've seen before with their American Badass releases, so it's nothing different there. The main selling point to this was the WCW Tag Team Championship that came with it. And although that's a cool accessory, I don't think it's, you know, worth the price. This also, when I put it on, it doesn't properly fit the Undertaker. And I've also seen people in Australia and places with like a warm climate where the rubber is kind of rubbing away, so it's, you know, it's a cool idea in principle, but I don't think it sits too well. Like, the shoulders, especially when it's pulled down, well, I'm not going to do it right now, but when it's pulled down, the shoulder straps don't exactly stay on too long, so it's not really, you know, a sustainable sort of figure, and it only comes with, it only comes with this. So although this is a nice little accessory here, when it's actually up, it's not worth getting, and that's why I regret purchasing it. Why I bought it in the first place was, you know, I'm a fan of The Undertaker, wanted more Undertaker Elites, but I think this one should have really been a pass. Now we come on to this WrestleMania Edge. Now you might be saying, look, NLW, this doesn't look like such a bad figure, why would it be? This is why. There you go, there's the head scan that originally came on this figure. Looks stupid, looks like it's a mix between Test and Edge, really. It doesn't look like Edge whatsoever. It's because they took it from a screenshot from WrestleMania 22 where he fought Mick Foley, and yeah, it just didn't work. So ideally they would have just had this head scan. This is from the Edge 2-pack with the, the Edge heads. So this is that one, and it works a lot better on this body, I think. Obviously it's not completely accurate, but it's still a lot better than the one before, so it improves this figure significantly. However, you know, the camo pants are a nice touch, but you can't really, you know, you can't really excuse the body. Like, the tattoos are obviously on point, but it's still like quite a basic figure in terms of how it's sort of manufactured. Even like the jacket doesn't even have that many details on it, which, you know, is fair enough because that's what he wore, but you know, still it would have been nice to have a figure that was had a lot more thought put into it, especially when, you know, you don't really get that many edge releases, at least at the time this was released. So yeah, I don't think it's their best effort, and also the torso I think could be changed to a different edge sculpt. But again, it's nitpicking really, but luckily it would have made my list before with the head alone, but it's still not really the best edge figure in my view. Now we come on to this classic Chris Jericho from AEW. I had to include some AEW on here for balance, and I was trying to look for a figure that I kind of regretted purchasing, and whilst I don't necessarily regret purchasing this, I definitely think that they could have done a lot better with this Chris Jericho. So for instance, the jacket is beautiful, you know, it's great, but it's rubber, and the kind of articulation that you get with rubber is quite limited, so that knocks it down a couple of points, as well as the kind of body shape. It doesn't really look too much like Chris Jericho. Obviously this is from his early days, but even this like head scan here, it just feels a bit too rubbery for me. Like the hair, it's just a bit too, I don't know, it feels more LJN than AEW. Like, it sticks out like a sore thumb on my shelf, so that's one thing. And also this, if you can kind of look in tight to the tight design really, you can see where it's sort of, it's not quite matching up, and it's kind of it's a bit of a nitpick, but still, like, you can see on the side here where it just doesn't really match up. It looks like it's been drawn on with marker, for instance. And whilst I do appreciate that there's more classic figures like the Owen Hart, which I absolutely love, this one, you know, it was a nice effort, but I feel like they missed the mark just slightly, just with the hair. It just sticks out on my shelf really. Like, compared to the other detailed Chris Jericho head scans that you've got, there are more, yeah, I just don't think it looks like him. That's just plain and simple. I know it's from an old version of him, but still, when I wish they would do more of these like flashback luminary type figures, but you know, hopefully they get it right like they did with the Owen, because that was a good one. This one though, I would say miss if you've not bought it already. And finally we have this Ultimate Edition Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now this isn't to say I don't love this figure. This is actually quite a controversial one personally, because I actually think this figure is fantastic. It comes with a lot of cool accessories, and I would definitely recommend getting this figure above all else on this list, because it does come with a variety of head scans, comes with its own shirt, comes with the multiple championships. The only reason that is on this list is because I just prefer the simple basic elite. Let me show you. Here you've got the articulation points, so these arms are a lot stiffer than these Ultimate Edition ones. These ones are quite loose, but that's because it's got greater articulation. This is the, I believe, the WrestleMania one, so in terms of its stiffness, it's a lot stiffer because it doesn't have the Ultimate Edition articulation. These Ultimate Edition waists, whilst they're cool to pose around with, I much prefer using these, especially when it comes to stop motion, because it's much easier to control. Likewise with the feet on this one, because of the extra articulation, they're a little bit more difficult to pose and stand around with, whereas this basic elite one I can pose around with no problem. So it's a matter of preference, this last one, more than anything. I'm not saying that this is a bad figure whatsoever. I'm just saying that as an animator, when I'm doing stop motion, I much prefer using this figure. That's not to say that I won't use the Ultimate Edition for WrestleMania, for instance, because I probably will. However, in terms of like ease, this one is a bit better for me, at least in terms of animation. In fact, I might use this one for WrestleMania, who knows. This one is good for pick fedding though, I must say. It's just when you're animating, it can be a little bit tricky to get them in the right place and the right movement, whereas these ones, they're quite rigid, which for some people might be annoying, especially if you're pick fedding, but for animating, I like having kind of rigid motion because it means I can keep them in position for a bit longer, if that makes sense. You know, that might be a controversial pick on this list, however, it's just when comparing it to the standard elite, I just prefer to use this one for animation. But I can't deny this is a great figure, so maybe I don't regret buying it. However, I certainly would question it. And that is my list, 5 figures that I regret purchasing. Not that they're bad figures necessarily, just that I would probably reconsider putting them in my collection. But what do you think? This might be a controversial video, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you own any of these figures, and are there any figures in your collection? I completely butchered that sentence. Are there any figures in your collection that you regret purchasing? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like the video as well if you enjoyed, and subscribe to NLW Figs for daily videos this December and more wrestling figure content like this video. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.